Hey dear subscribers, welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to move ahead with numericals. Numericals are very essential part of physics, and the numericals which are based on this chapters are very important as well as a little difficult to solve. So pay your full attention and listen to the lecture. I hope numericals would be easy after the lecture. So let's get started. We are going to discuss 10 questions today. So the first question is that the speed time graph is given in the figure. Let us see the figure first. So this is the figure. It's a speed time graph. Whenever we have graph, the first things to see what are the units of the quantities mentioned on the graph. So we have times in second and velocity in meter per second. That means we don't need to convert any quantities. Both of them are in SI unit. And the graph we can just see at a glance. Now the car weighs 1000 kg. Now this is the speed time graph of a car which is traveling in a real time space, and the weight of the car is 1000 kg. Let us see, we have to solve two parts in this question. The first part is what is the distance traveled by the car in first 2 seconds. So this question we have to solve with the help of this graph, and we have to find out the distance in first 2 seconds. That means till here, till point E, what is the distance traveled by the car. And the second is what is the braking force applied at the end of 5 seconds to bring the car to stop within 1 second. Okay, at the end of 5 seconds. So this was the 5 seconds. So yahan tak if you will see that the car was accelerating between 2 to 5 seconds, the car is traveling with a uniform velocity, but at 5 seconds the speed of the car decreases, right? That means at 5 seconds brakes are applied. So that we have to find out what is the braking force which is applied at the end of 5 seconds. And you can see that this graph touches the x-axis at 6 seconds. That means within a second the car stopped, right? So we have to find out that force. Now let us see the first part. Whenever we have a speed time graph, we know that if we have to calculate distance from a speed or a velocity time graph, we use the area of the graph. Whereas if we have to find out the acceleration, then we use the slope of the graph. So here to calculate distance, let us. So we have to use the concept of area. But area we have to find for first 2 seconds, because distance you have to find for first 2 seconds. Now since in first 2 seconds, if we'll see this figure is a triangle, right? Since this figure is a triangle, then it would be the area of triangle ABE. So whenever from the graph, if you have to find the distance or the acceleration, first is the concept, that is how do you calculate from the graph. So distance is calculated by area. Second is you have to write the name of that figure of the triangle. So here it is ABE. Third is you have to write down the formula of the area of the triangle, which is half base into height. Fourth is you have to substitute the base and the height, the naming basically from the graph. So base is AE, height is BE. So AE into BE. Now we are going to just substitute the values. So AE kitna hai? 2, BE is 15. So see, we've substituted half into 2 into 15. 2 cancels out. So the distance covered is 15 meter. Now similar manner we have to find out the braking force also. Now let us see. Braking force also we have to find from the graph. We know that whenever we have to calculate force, the basic formula is mass into acceleration. Now see, mass is given in the question, which is 1000 kgs, right? That means we have to find out the acceleration. Now for acceleration, we do have the graph. So whenever we have speed time graph, we can always calculate acceleration. There are two methodologies. One is either we use this graph and the concept which is slope. Second is we can use the formula as well. So we know that if we have to calculate acceleration from the formula, which is v minus u by t, then we need final velocity, initial velocity and time. So see, kitna pucha humse braking force? Within 1 second. So every data that we are going to see is for only 1 second. Ye wala area mein hame dekhna hai, right? So in this area, braking force is applied at 5 seconds and the car stops at 10 seconds. So 5 seconds पे जो भी velocity होगी, that is going to be initial. 6 seconds पे जो भी होगी, that is going to be the final. Where is the initial and what is the final and what is the initial value? How can we see that? So see, initial means 5 seconds पे graph कहाँ था? So if we'll see the graph is at point C, right? So initial velocity would be at point C, which is nothing but 15 meter per second. So at point C, the initial velocity would be 15 meter per second. 6 seconds, so where is the graph? At point D. And we can see that whenever the graph touches x-axis at any point, then the value which is depicted on y-axis would be 0. What do I mean by that? कि D point पे the graph touches x-axis. ग्राफ अगर x axis को टच कर रहा है मतलब वेलोसिटी d पॉइंट पे 0, so that means final velocity would be 0. See, one thing is to make out from the graph, other thing is वो बोल रहा है कि it is stop within 1 second. So the car stop, that means final velocity तो 0 ही होगा ना, right? Now we just have to substitute to find out the acceleration. The formula, either we can use this equation or we can use the formula v minus u by t. So 0 minus 15 by t, which is 1 second. So now we're going to substitute it, right? 0 minus 15, time is 1 second. So minus 15 by 1 is minus 15 meter per second square. What does this negative sign indicate? That it is not accelerating but retardation. And we can see whenever the graph is downward sloping, that means it is retardation. Upward slope means acceleration. And if it is line parallel in velocity time graph, no acceleration. So now force, we're going to just substitute in the formula. Mass is 1000, acceleration is minus 15. So it's going to be minus 15,000 Newton. Again, what does this negative sign indicate? That it is in opposing force to stop the vehicle or to bring down the velocity. Here they are mentioning ki stop ho raha hai, so we can write stop. See, whenever you get answer in negatives, then you have to mention the reason for the negative sign. Okay, so the distance covered here is 15 meter, whereas the force is minus 15,000 newtons. So this was an easy question. Moving on to the question 2. A bullet of mass 50 gram. See, when we have question, we have to write down the data, right? So bullet of mass 50 gram. As soon as we scan it, we'll see कि दो masses दिया है, दो object दिया है. That means I've already mentioned once that if there are two objects, there are two masses, then that means this question is of law of conservation of momentum. Guidelines have been given to you how to solve such type of question. For law of conservation of momentum, write down the two objects separately as headings and write down all the details underneath them. So first object was bullet. I named it as object A. That was bullet. उसका mass given the 50 grams. Substitute कर दिया. Is fired from a gun. So second object gun है. Of mass 6 kg. So again the mass of the gun is given to us as 6 kg. Now this is object B. So mass के subscript is going to be B. This was object A. So mass के subscript is going to be A. With a velocity 400 meter per second. I mentioned पहले भी that bullet and gun, rifle and gun, pistol and rifle and bullet and gun, bullet and pistol. In all these cases, before collision means before firing ka situation. Before firing, both the gun and bullet are at rest, so inka initial velocity is going to be 0, no matter what is given in the question. Don't get confused. So with a velocity this much, it is fired. So ये किसका velocity होगा? Bullet का. So bullet ka final velocity is 400. Whereas they have asked us to calculate the recoil velocity of gun. So gun ka hame velocity find out karna hai. Let it be V. So is the information clear? Now once you've written all the information, we'll check if everything is in SI unit or not. If not, we'll convert it. This gram ko I've converted into kgs. Now we'll apply the formula, which is law of conservation of momentum. Whatever I've written here, you have to mention. Whenever something you're taking as 0, it is not mentioned in the question, you have to write down something, the information related to the thing that you are deriving from the question. Okay, now we'll write this according to the law of conservation of momentum. Then we'll write the formula. After formula, we'll substitute all the value. So the formula is MAUA plus MBUB is equals to MAVA plus MBVB. Right? Before collision, after collision. Now I'm going to substitute 50 by 1000 into 0, 6 into 0, 50 by 1000 into 400. From here we'll see plus 6V. Right? So ये तो 0 हो गया. So once you solve this part, MAVA, you'll get it as 20. So 20 plus 6V. right? So this see 6v, this is in multiplication, उसके साथ में addition में 28, it will go the other side, would be minus 20. Then 6 which was in multiplication will come as denominator, so minus 20 by 6, that is 10 by 3, which is minus 3.33 meter per second. Now again, what does this negative sign indicate? Negative sign indicates that the gun is in the opposite direction as that of the bullet. So if bullet is in the forward direction, gun is going to be in the opposite direction. So negative sign indicates that the gun recoils in the opposite direction. And what is the velocity of the recoiling of gun? 3.33 meter per second. So this end statement, this is the answer line, that is very important to mention. जो भी उसने question पूछा है, so they've asked us to calculate the recoil velocity of gun. So recoil velocity कितना आया है, you will have to write down with the help of a statement. So along, if there is a negative sign, you have to mention the reason and the value of whatever the unknown that you've calculated. Now there is one more methodology to do questions which are based on law of conservation of momentum. I'm teaching it to you today. And on this methodology, we're going to solve the question after this. What till date, what we were doing, that we were considering two objects, gun, bullet, right? Mentioning them at the top and then writing all the details. But there's another methodology to do so, because momentum का हमने पढ़ा है कि there are two situations, before collision, after collision. So in that manner also you can proceed. So you can write it as the heading as before collision, and another one would be after collision. So before collision, it is going to be, we'll write all the details. So see, before collision दो situation होगा. See, always it's going to be the same. Before collision दो situation, दोनों object के masses, दोनों ऑब्जेक्ट का इनिशियल वेलोसिटी. आफ्टर कोलिजन दोनों ऑब्जेक्ट के masses again and दोनों ऑब्जेक्ट का final velocity. So you can proceed in this manner also. So what you have to do, you have to enter all the details provided in the question in this format and then solve by applying the formula, which is law of conservation of momentum. Now to understand this more easily, we are seeing the next question, which was question number 3. A body of mass this, and you can see here we have another mass. That means there are two masses. That means this is a question which is based on law of conservation of momentum. So let us just see how we are going to solve this. See, a body of mass 1.5 kg. So we've written that mass of a body is 1.5 kg. Abhi don't pay attention to anything else. Whatever I am saying, just look only there. So body of mass 1.5 kg. Body ka mass hai 1.5. Moving with the velocity of 10 meter per second. Now that body was already moving with some velocity. That means that is going to be the initial velocity of that body. Let us consider that body to be A, right? So it's going to be the initial velocity of body A, which is going to be UA, and the mass is going to be MA, substituting the value. Encounters another body. So मान लेते this is the body A. It encounters this another body which is B. Now the mass of that body is 2.5 kg. So you can see the mass of the body B, MB is 2.5, which is moving in the opposite direction. Okay, this word opposite direction is very important. See, this was moving from left to right, whereas this is going to move from right to left. So this is very important opposite direction word. Right? So this is very important. See, this was traveling towards towards B, but B body was traveling towards A, opposite direction का ये meaning होगा. Right? Now what was the velocity? With the velocity 16 meter per second. Now since both of them are traveling in opposite directions, if we are considering this to be positive, since this was in the opposite direction, velocity being a vector quantity, we have to use this negative sign here. Right? So these are all the details of body A, these are the details of body B. But see, this is the situation before collision. Before collision, we have to mention four things, which is mass of both the bodies and initial velocity of both the bodies. But remember this and not forget this, that if both are traveling in the opposite direction, then what would happen? So that opposite sign is very important. Now moving ahead to the question. And then when they encounter each other, right? They were encountering each other because they were traveling the opposite direction. That means they are coming close to each other, right? So then they stick to each other. This is the situation of sticking to each other, right? They both stick to each other. What is the velocity of the combination? So is the situation clear? Both of them are traveling in the opposite direction. Now, once they travel in the opposite direction, they're going to stick and they are going to travel together. So this was a situation before collision. We have a situation after collision. After collision, we have to again mention four details, which is the mass of the body, both the bodies, and the final velocity of both the bodies. So mass of body A is going to be, it is not going to change. It remains same 1.5. Final velocity we still don't know. So we'll consider that to be capital V. Then mass of body B is going to be 2.5 kgs, and the final velocity again we don't know, so we'll consider it to be capital V again, right? Now all the details we have right in front of you. Now you got it. There are two ways to solve law of conservation of momentum based question. One that we've discussed, that you write down on the top both the objects, and all the detail regarding to one object would be in one area, and all the detail regarding to other object would be under it. One. Second way we have discussed today, you can write in this manner: before collision, after collision. So all the details before collision, all the detail after collision. बाद में है इसलिए यहाँ पे फाइनल वेलोसिटी आएगा, पहले वाला सिचुएशन इसलिए इनिशियल आएगा, मासेस तो दोनों बॉडी का आएगा ही. Now we are going to apply law of conservation of momentum. The formula is MAUA plus MBUB is equals to MAVA plus MBVB. All the details we have right in front of us, just we have to substitute. But the only thing is, whenever they're mentioning in the question the opposite direction, be sure that if you take one as positive, the other one is going to be negative. Okay, and during the substitution also you substitute it along with the negative sign. So we've substituted all the values. Once we solve this, we'll get 15. Once we solve this, we'll get 40. But plus minus will become minus. See, 1.5 into 2 plus 2.5 is going to be 4v. So once you solve this, it comes out to be minus 6.25 meter per second. Now, since the final velocity of both the object is coming out to be negative, what that does mean कि किसका velocity negative था? Object B का. और final velocity भी दोनों का negative आ रहा है, मतलब when they stick to each other, they start to travel in the direction of object B. So negative sign indicates that after sticking to each other, both travels in the direction of object B. And what is the velocity, combined velocity? 6.5 meter per. So negative sign का यहाँ पे opposite direction नहीं बोलेंगे हम क्या बोलेंगे? This whatever you are considering to be negative, that is going to be your answer. अगर हमने body A का initial velocity को negative consider किया था, तो हम यहाँ पे लिख देते कि वो एक ही direction में travel कर रहे हैं. Since negative B का लिया है, तो हम आंसर में B के terms में लिखेंगे. Is that clear? I hope this question is very much clear to you. And we have seen both the ways how to solve law of conservation of momentum. Whichever you find easy, you can proceed. Moving on to question 4. So the velocity time graph. So here is the graph of a ball moving on the surface floor is shown in the figure. So here the graph is shown. Calculate the force. So we have to calculate force if the mass of the ball is 100 grams. So see, mass which is capital small m, which is 100 grams. We have to calculate force. See, every detail like this are very important. Ki what is given, what is to be calculated, what are the symbols that we denote them with, what are the values. If they are not in SI unit, convert them into SI unit at one go. Okay. So now we know that to calculate force, the formula is MA, right? Now, if the formula is MA, that means we need mass and acceleration. Mass तो we have in the data, but acceleration we don't have. Now, don't stuck here और ये मत सोचना आप कैसे करें इसको. See, graph is given. So, graph इसलिए दिया है ताकि you can derive any values from that. So, graph को study करो. देखो, this is the graph, right? So, जहाँ से भी graph start होता है, that is going to be your initial velocity. From whatever point it ends, that is going to be your final velocity. And in whatever time it is taking, that is going to be time taken. So see, the graph starts from this point O. Let us consider this is at O. So उसका initial velocity कितना हो गया object का? 0. The graph ends here. So final velocity क्या हुआ? Velocity we get it from the y-axis. तो मतलब वो 20 हो गया. So final velocity is 20 meter per second. But 0 से 20 कितने time period में हुआ? 4 second में. So time here is 4 seconds. So we have final velocity, initial velocity, time. We know that whenever we have final velocity, initial velocity and the time taken, acceleration can be calculated from the formula V minus U by T. One way. Second way, acceleration can also be calculated from first equation of v is equals to u plus at. Third way, if velocity time graph is given, acceleration can be calculated from the slope of the graph also, which is y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. So any methodology that you're comfortable with, you can use here. Fine. Now, final velocity we've already seen it is 20. Initial is 0 divided by force. 20 minus 0 by 4 is 5 meter per second square. So now we have mass, we have acceleration, and we have to just substitute in this formula. So see, mass is 100 divided by 1000. Abhi dekho, whenever you will see my way of solving numericals, you will never find that I am solving it right here. I'm not solving. I'm leaving it in the manner it is. I'm not solving and converting it into decimals. Why? Because I know okay, somewhere later it is going to be cancelled out, so I don't want to waste my time here. And you know, it's a common practice that we do. That पहले यहाँ पे decimal में convert करते हैं. And once when we substitute in the final formula, we again convert it into fraction. So this is double waste of time. I don't want you to waste your time again and again over the same thing. So it's better that you leave it in that way because it becomes simpler also. Because there are certain values that get cancelled also. So right, if you'll see here, ये दो zero से दो zero cancel हो जाएगा. This is divided, and the whole thing is in multiplication by 5. So 5 by 10 is going to be 0.5. So the force acting on the ball is going to be 0.5. And this statement is very important because this is the answer line. The vast is the force, which is 0.5 Newton. Am I clear on this? Moving on to the next question, question number 5. A constant force of friction. So force of friction. Now don't get confused. Force of friction ho ya force ho. It is the force only. Right? The only thing is the symbol denotation changes. So for normal force we use a capital F, but for force of friction we use a small force F. Okay. Then we know that friction force always acts in the opposite direction. So friction force, since it acts in the opposite direction, we always consider friction force to be negative. So it's going to be minus 50 newtons. Okay, so a constant force of friction of 50 Newton. So that is going to be minus 50 Newton, small f. So this is basic concept कि friction अगर होगा force represented by small f, it is always going to be negative. So minus 50 Newton is acting on the body of mass 200 kg. So mass is given as 200. Moving initially with the speed of 15 meter per second. So initial speed is 15 meter per second. Right, moving initially मतलब initial speed represented by u. How long does the body take to stop? अभी देखो हम पता चल रहा है इसने क्या पूछा हमसे, how long मतलब time पूछा, so we have to calculate time. But does the body take to stop? Finally it is stopping. That means final velocity is going to be 0, right? And there are second part of the question. Now again this is a trick. Whenever in the question, if they are mentioning you two parts. Okay, if they are mentioning you two paths, this is very important, then A और B लिख लो. दो देखो question में segregate करके A and B या 1 and 2 नहीं दिया, but we will write here A and B. Why? What is the need to do so? Because in hurry we tend to forget to do the second part of the question. So it's always better that whenever you write it this way. So solution तो हम देखेंगे कि अभी हमारा we have to find time and one more thing is to be calculated. So in that case, there is a very less probability that you'll forget to calculate this distance. Okay. So now when you have to calculate time on the basis of the given situation, what we will do? See, बेटा जब भी समझ ही नहीं आता कि हमें how to proceed with the question, ये तो मैम you are teaching us तो we know, but मैम अभी क्या करें जब हमें नहीं पता चलता. So see, we have initial speed, we have final speed, and we have time. We know all of these can be related by first equation of motion. See, आप पता है तभी सोच पाओगे जब all the formulas that we have learned are thoroughly learned. अगर वो नहीं लर्न करोगे तो फिर नहीं पता चलता है कि which formulas to be used and how to proceed. वो विजन नहीं आ पाएगा जब तक formulas नहीं करोगे. So solving numericals, you have to learn formula. Learning formulas are very important. Okay. Now एक तरीका तो ये. दूसरा तरीका, जब भी फोर्स और मास दिया है ना, ज्यादा मत सोचो, यूज द फॉर्मूला F is equals to ma और एक्सीलरेशन तो निकाल ही लो, क्योंकि फोर्स और मास है, दैट मींस यू कैन ओनली लिंक बोथ ऑफ देम बाय वन फॉर्मूला व्हिच इज F is equals to m. So see, I'm substituting values here. Force minus 50, mass is 200, acceleration I have to calculate. जब इन दोनों को डिवाइड करूंगी आई गेट माई आंसर इज -0.25 मीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर। तो अब क्या करें मैम? बट नाउ बेटा यू हैव एक्सीलरेशन, यू हैव इनिशियल वेलोसिटी, यू हैव फाइनल वेलोसिटी, सो अभी टाइम निकल सकता है ना बाय substituting all of them in first equation of motion. So see, final velocity is 0, initial is 15, acceleration is -0.25 into time. So see, अभी सॉल्व कैसे करना है? ये तो पूरा टाइम के साथ में मल्टीप्लीकेशन में, तो फर्स्ट दिस 15 will go to the other side, it is an addition here, that side will be -15 divided by this 0.25. Why? Because it is in multiplication with time, but it will go along with this sign negative. So divided by -0.25, minus minus cancel, 15 divided by 0.25, once you solve your answer come out to be 60 seconds. So time तो आ गया, 60 seconds लगेगा, but we're still left with one part of the question, that is we have to calculate the distance. To calculate the distance, we have to use the third equation of motion. Third equation of motion is, why we are using third equation, ma'am? Because the distance use करना, तो we cannot simply use distance is equals to speed upon speed is equal to distance upon time, because we have two speeds here. तो क्या लोगे फिर? So you can't, right? So that means we have to use three equations of motion. अब first तो use नहीं कर सकते. Now we are left with second and third. You can use either of the two. But I've already mentioned in my previous lecture that if one of the velocities is 0, always use third equation of motion. It becomes more simpler. So we are using third equation of motion. See this is the 0. Minus 15 into 15 equals to 2 into acceleration is minus 0.25 into distance. So what would happen? This 2 into minus 0.25 will go in denominator. But see, confuse मत होना कि मैम ये divide भी है, minus भी है, क्या करें? ये multiplication में है ना, s के साथ में, distance के साथ में, तो other side जाके तो minus divide ही होगा. And this is also carrying this sign, so we'll bring it along with the sign. So the numerator में minus से denominator minus से cancel हो गया. 15 into 15 divided by 2 into 0.25. इसको solve करोगे तो answer आ जाएगा 450 meters. So the distance covered is 450 meter and the time taken by the body is 60 seconds. Moving on to the next question, question number 6. A motorcycle is moving with this velocity. So see, अगर हमें कुछ velocity दिया है, तो we have to write it down. It is moving with this. So it is already moving with this. That means that is going to be your initial velocity. So initial velocity is 90 km per hour. It takes 5 seconds to stop. Time is 5 seconds. Stop हो रहा है. जब भी they mention that the motorcycle stop या any object stop, that means final velocity is going to be 0. But this, क्या ये value दिया है question में final velocity is 0? No. So whenever from any information, if you are deriving the values, then that information to be written in the brackets always. So why it is 0? As the motorcycle stop. It's a small statement. कुछ हमें lengthy theory नहीं लिखना है. Small statement खत्म करो, but you have to mention. Okay. So now we have to calculate the force exerted by the brakes. So force we have to find on the motorcycle if its mass is 200 kg. So mass 200 kg दिया है, right? Now see, whenever you have to calculate force, we know that we have the formula F is equals to mass into acceleration. Mass तो दिया है हमें, acceleration नहीं है. But to find out that acceleration, ये सब दिया है, right? Generally, acceleration अभी हमने we have seen 5 questions, right? So उसमें हमने देखा कि acceleration अगर दिया होता है तो these all values are usually given to calculate acceleration. So we'll use first equation of motion, v is equals to u plus 18, right? Now see, v कितना था? 0. u कितना है? This is a catch. Initial velocity is 90 km per hour. Mind it, we have to convert this into SI unit. From kilometer per hour to SI unit, that is meter per second, you have to multiply it by 5 by 18, right? That means 5 would be in multiplication, but 18 would be in denominator, the entire thing, right? So meter per second में convert हो गया. Now only you substitute it here. So u is, that is initial velocity, it is going to be 90 into 5 by 18 plus acceleration we have to find, time is 5 seconds. अभी देखो क्या होगा, this is in addition, go that side and that is going to be subtraction. But ध्यान रखना, ये again एक common mistake है. See, 18 divide में होता है, हम क्या करते हैं, जब उस साइड भेजते हैं ना, तो इसको multiplication में कर देते हैं, इसको denominator में कर देते हैं. No, वो तभी होगा जब इस value के साथ में कोई variable भी होता. अभी variable इधर है, So we'll hide this entire thing. तो मेरे पास क्या बचा? Now we're left with addition. So that's it. It will go in subtraction, and the entire thing यहाँ पे जैसा लिखा है, it will go in that manner only. So minus 19 to 5 divided by 18 only, right? Now this 5 is in multiplication, will go in denominator और 18 के साथ multiply हो जाएगा. Now that 5, this 5 cancels out. 90 and 18 would be minus 4 meter per second square. Acceleration आ गया minus 4. Now to calculate force, mass is 200, acceleration is minus 4. So answer is going to be minus 800 Newton. So what is the force? The negative sign indicates that the force, that is 800 Newton, is exerted in the opposite direction. Moving to question number 7. Next question. Calculate the force. Again, the thing is that we have to calculate the force. So given force is equals to, we have to calculate. So see, if you see the pattern, आपको mention करना which quantity you are talking about, and the bracket write down all the symbols. Okay. So force we have to calculate. Required to impart a car a velocity of this much. Now again, this is very important. Impart का मतलब पता है क्या होता है? कि उसको हमें वो velocity supply करना है, right? So that means it doesn't mean कि that object has that velocity already. We want it to have this velocity. मतलब वो final velocity हो जाएगा this 30 meter per second, right? In 10 seconds, time is given to us as 10 seconds. You have to calculate the mass of the car. So mass of the car is 1500 kg. Got the question? Calculate the force required to impart a car a velocity of this. हमें उसको velocity provide करना है. So that means अभी उसकी velocity नहीं है. It will become. So if it will become, that means it is going to be the final velocity. So final velocity होना चाहिए 30 meter per second. Time है 10 seconds. हमें वो force निकालना है. Mass दिया है 1500 kg. If we have to calculate force, we'll use the formula mass into acceleration. Again, mass is given, but acceleration isn't. Now to calculate acceleration, final velocity time hai. That means we'll have to somewhere use this equation of motion. But how about this initial velocity? So in questions like this, when they say we have to impart the car, then we will suppose that initially body rest पे है. अभी वो नहीं travel कर रही है, हमें उसको travel करवा के उस velocity तक लेके जाना है, right? So hence the initial velocity here is 0. So whenever in question they say we have to impart this, that means initial 0 है. So we have initial, we have final, we have time. We'll use first equation of motion. Substitute the value. So 30 is equals to 0 plus a into 10. ठीक है, so 3 मीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर हो गया. एक्सीलरेशन आ गया, मास है, डायरेक्ट सब्स्टिट्यूट कर देंगे फोर्स के फॉर्मूले में. आंसर इज 4500 न्यूटन. सो द फोर्स रिक्वायर्ड इज 4500 Newton. So got my point why this question was important to understand this concept. When we have to impart that velocity, that means the body should have that velocity. And what is the initial velocity in such a case? It is going to be 0. So if you see in the maximum cases, जब force की बात होती है, F is equals to ma होता है, but direct acceleration they are not giving you. That means whenever such scenario happens, with the help of the other information and with the help of the 3 equations of motion, you have to solve your question. Okay. Now moving ahead to the next question, which is question number 8. What would be the force required to produce an acceleration of 2 meter per second square? So what would be the force? मतलब हमें force calculate करना है. Required to produce an acceleration of 2 meter per second. So acceleration is 2 meter per second square. It should be square, okay? In a body of mass 12 kg. So mass is given to us as 12 kg. Now what? See, अभी यहाँ पे एक question था, अभी एक और question आ गया. So in a single question, if you have 2 questions, then segregate 2 questions by writing 1, 2 or A or B inside the questions. See, I am writing it, putting it here A. अब B में क्या निकालना है हमें? What would be the acceleration? So we have to find out acceleration. If the force were doubled, तो इस केस में जितना भी force लग रहा था, अगर वो double कर दे, तो फिर यहाँ पर acceleration क्या होगा? That we have to calculate. So for solving part B, part A आना जरूरी है. तो अगर एक पार्ट भी नहीं आएगा ना, सेकेंड पार्ट भी नहीं आएगा. इसलिए लर्न द फॉर्मूले थॉरली. वी हैव एक्सीलरेशन, वी हैव मास, फोर्स निकालना. It's a direct easy beasy thing. That to calculate force, we are going to use the formula F is equals to ma. 12 into 2, that is 24 newtons. Learn the SI unit, they are very very important. SI unit नहीं लिखोगे तो again marks deduct होगा. Okay. Now if the force is double, तो acceleration निकालना तो पहले force को double करना पड़ेगा. Force कितना आया अभी 24, उसको double करना है मतलब 48 न्यूटन हो गया. Right, you have to write this new force 2F 2 into 24 48. अब acceleration कितना होगा तो again see body का mass तो नहीं change होगा, it will remain the same. So we have force, we have mass which is 12. So again we'll apply the same formula, F is equals to ma. Substitute the value, acceleration 4 meter per second square आ गया. Right? So the force required is 24 Newton, and if the force is double, acceleration is 4 meter per second square. Question number 9 is a truck of mass, and if you'll see there is another mass, that means it is based on law of conservation of momentum, right? So now we are using the earlier methodology. आपको before collision, after collision easy लगता है, you can solve that. I want to solve in this manner. Okay, so a truck of mass 2500 kg. So object A truck है, उसका mass. So since this is object A, इसका mass ma होगा, which is 2500 kg. Moving at 15 meter per second. So the initial velocity is going to be 15 meter per second. Collides with a car of mass this much. Now there is another object, object B, which is a car. इसका mass है 1000 kg. So mass of the car mb is 1000 kg. Moving at 5 meter per second. So it is already moving with this. That means it is going to be initial velocity. In the opposite direction. Again, this word is very, very important. If it is opposite, it is a vector quantity. We have to take this negative sign. Okay, and we are also mentioning the reason of the negative sign, right? Why we are taking it? Because we are taking it by ourselves. It's not mentioned in the question. So you will have to mention the reason as the car travels in the opposite direction. Now with what velocity would the two move together? Now collide okay, they must be sticking to each other, therefore they are moving together. So that means the final velocity of both the objects are going to be the same. So VA and VB both are going to be the same. Let us consider that to be capital V. We'll apply. Now this you have to mention. क्योंकि हमने see again we are taking both of them as V by thinking about something. You have to mention it in the paragraph. In a form of a statement. That final velocity of both the car and truck is same as they both move together. Hence we are taking it to be capital V. Applying the formula, law of conservation of momentum, substituting the value. MAUA plus MBUB is equals to MAVA plus MBVB. Substituting all the values, there was no need of any conversion. But be sure that whenever you substitute this initial value, it is already carrying a negative sign. Don't forget to substitute it with a negative sign. और प्लस माइनस माइनस होगा, सॉल्व जब करेंगे इसको will land out to 9.285. See, whenever आपका आंसर डेसिमल्स में आता है, then solve it up to 3 decimal places and then round it off to 2 decimal place. So 3 decimal place तक 285 आया, round off करके it is 9.29. So what does that mean? See, answer is coming out to be in the positive value. So that means positive किसका initial velocity था? Truck का. मतलब when they stick to each other, they will travel together in the direction of what truck was traveling. So both move together in the direction of truck with a velocity of 9.29 meter per second. I hope this is clear. So again, the catch was this opposite sign. So see, one thing you can do, whenever you see in the question opposite direction, so हम भूल ना जाए, so you can underline this opposite direction in the question, right? So that will be sure कि opposite direction तो हमें negative sign use करना ही है. Okay? So the answer is, okay, so this is the last question. A boy of mass. See, if we will see from the question again, just at a glance, we'll see there are two masses here, right? So that means it is based on law of conservation of momentum. So we'll distinguish object A and object B in the manner. Now, जैसे object A पता चलता है, we'll write the name in the brackets. जैसे object B पता चलता है, we'll write the name in the brackets. So a boy. So object A पता चल गया boy है. Of mass 60 kg. So mass of the boy is 60 kg. Since this is A, so we are writing subscript as A. Running at this much, so it is running, that means its initial velocity. Jumps onto a trolley, तो trolley है another object जिसका mass है 140 kg, moving with the velocity of 1.5 meter per second. So it is already moving with the velocity, so that means it is initial. But see, they are mentioning in the same direction. Since they are not in the opposite, in the same, तो अगर ये positive लिया है तो ये भी positive. मैम क्या हम इसको नेगेटिव ले सकते थे? यस, दैट इज एब्सोल्युटली योर चॉइस। ओके, तो अगर इसको नेगेटिव ले रहे हो तो ये भी नेगेटिव हो जाएगा, बट बाय कन्वेंशन जब तक हमने दो अलग अलग डायरेक्शन नहीं होते तो वी कंसिडर पॉजिटिव ओनली। ओके, व्हाट इज देयर कॉमन वेलोसिटी? व्हाई कॉमन? क्योंकि वो उस पर जंप करता है ना, सिंस वो उस पर जंप कर लेगा दे मूव ऑफ टुगेदर। सो दिस again you have to mention the reason, that as the boy jumps onto the trolley and both move together, so the final velocities is same, hence we're considering it to be capital V. We'll apply the formula according to law of conservation of momentum. We'll apply the formula. This is the statement that you have to write. The formula is this. Substitute all the values with the sign. सब कुछ positive है. सब substitute करना है. 16 to 3 plus 140 into 1.5. Then 16 to V plus 140 into V. So it's 200V and we'll solve this 390. Divide karoge, the answer will come out to be 1.95 meter per second. Okay. So both the boy and the trolley moves with the velocity of 1.95 meter per second. Right? Why both are moving? Because that is going to be their common velocity. They are asking us. So if you put them a common, then you understand that they are going to travel off together. Even if there are no certain things mentioned here. यहाँ तो mention कहते हैं कि वो उस पे jump कर लेगा. The boy अगर trolley पे jump करेगा तो of course they're going to move together. Right? I hope all the numericals are clear to you. I have made you learn little things. So don't forget about that small things where your numerical brain can become very easy for you. Or at the same time, if you don't remember those things, then your numericals can become tricky for you. So see, numericals जितना phobia होता है, they're not that difficult. The only thing beta is that you follow the steps, you go one by one. Numerical कभी भी पढ़ने से नहीं आता. You have to start using your pen. जब तक solve करना start नहीं करोगे तब तक नहीं आता है. So even if in the exam ऐसा हो जाए कि कुछ तो out of the box आ गया जो हमने नहीं सीखा है. So see, the only trick is start solving, is just don't read it. Don't keep on reading it. अब क्या करूँ? Write down the things, pen down the things which are given in the question. Once you do that, you have the link by yourself, because if you know the formulas, you'll be able to generate the link by yourself and solve it further. Okay, so this is a small trick to the numericals. I hope they are very much clear to you and you're going to excel here. Okay, thank you so much. See you in the next lecture. Bye bye.